What's up, people? I'm going to show you how to tunnel into a remote system that you put up in order to get access to things like DeFi or other crypto projects that are completely restricted from the US. Now, of course, this works both ways. So you can get into the US if you need to from another location. Depending on what your use case is, I'm just going to show you how to basically set up a server in another country and use it from the remote desktop. So let's start with getting into an account. You don't have to use DigitalOcean, but as you can tell with all of my other videos, I use DigitalOcean primarily. There's plenty of other options, but again, all the other options give you access to other countries. So in this case, I'm going not to Frankfurt, but maybe Toronto. Maybe go Sydney. And I'm going to use, or we're going to use Debian for this installation. 10 works, 11 works, but this demonstration is going to be for Debian 11. It doesn't matter which version you use, or sorry, not what version, which capacity you use, so the minimum's fine. Type in a password, and you can name it whatever you'd like. Name it something short. Okay, so we're going to wait for this thing to install, and then we're going to need to grab the IP address so we can log into it. Okay, so once you have the IP address, we're going to SSH with the root and type in the IP. Type yes to accept, and then type the password that you just entered in DigitalOcean. All right, and then we're going to start typing in the commands, which I am going to include in a companion document so you can just cut and paste these commands. Make it a lot easier, a lot faster. It's always recommended when you first set up a new system, just update it, because these images aren't always updated, so it's better when you use the image from a provider like DigitalOcean to just run the update. Go ahead and use the new installation or the new maintainer, which is going to be the package manager. Okay, the next thing is going to be to install the desktop environment and the VNC server. And of course, you can use whatever keyboard you want. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do is run this command that'll install a dependency, and it will also start the VNC server that will build some configuration files that we're going to edit later. And just type in an 8-character password because it will truncate the password at 8 characters, so you can't go any longer than that. Press or answer no for view only unless you want a view only mode. In this case, I don't think it really matters, or you shouldn't want a view only mode because you definitely want to log in and control the system. Okay, this next command is going to stop the VNC server. And the command after that, we're going to create a backup of the VNC configuration file. And then we're going to go right in and create a new configuration file. And we're going to paste some information in there to tell VNC to start this desktop environment. So just copy and paste this information here. And just hit escape to get out of the editor mode. And then I usually hold shift and hit ZZ to save and exit. And we're going to change the file to make it executable. Now we got to start the VNC server again. After we started the VNC server, now we can log into it using this longer command. So what we're going to do, because I want to use this terminal program, I'm going to basically disconnect, and then I'm going to reconnect using that long command. What it'll do is create a tunnel into the server through a secure SSH tunnel, and then we're going to connect to it with VNC through the tunnel, so it's secure. It's a secure connection because by default VNC does not have a secure way to connect. And what is the IP address? Okay, we type in the password for the server, same root password that we've been using before. And once you enter that password, if it fails, it'll tell you that's the wrong password. If it's good, it'll just do a return on the next line, and it won't do anything because it's idling, opening, and keeping the tunnel open. What we want to do after that is go into our VNC client, and you want to make sure, I've already created a couple of them. Let me create a new one just to go through the whole process. So you go to new connection, we type in the IP address of the local, called localhost, and we put in the port number 5901, and this is going to be the Sydney VNC desktop. All right, and then we just double click on the new connection. It'll give you this unencrypted connection. The encryption's happening at the SSH, not at the VNC level. So it doesn't think it's secure because it doesn't realize you're going through an SSH tunnel. It doesn't care either. It just works. So we're going to use the VNC password. This is the 8-character password that I told you would be truncated, so you could only use 8 characters. Remember the password if you want, and then just hit OK, and you'll get into the desktop. So you see we're in the desktop here. So the only thing we need to do now is add browsers. Unfortunately, you cannot add any Chrome or Chromium Chromium-based browser, so that means no Chromium, no Chrome, no Brave. I don't think you can add Opera at this point either, because they all require user profiles to save the user data, the browsing data rather, because they save all the browsing data in the user profile. We have no user profile. We're using the root account. So I'll have to create a whole new video about how to create multiple users for more long-term usage of this method. But for now, we're just going to do it quick and simple, where we're just installing a couple browsers that we can actually use that don't require user profiles. They'll work fine with the root user or the root account. So in this case, we're going to do a install, and we're going to install, let's see, what are we installing? Firefox and Midori, just to give you an option. You don't necessarily need both browsers, but you definitely need one, so you can pick and choose. I like installing a lot of browsers. Unfortunately, we run out of options because of the way this, the browsers typically run on user profiles, and it will not run very well, or it won't run correctly in a root account. Okay, now that this is ready, or this is finished, now we can actually check the browsers, which should be right here under the internet menu. We can open up Firefox to make sure that works, and we can open up Midori to make sure that works. Again, you can install Chrome, Chromium, Brave, Opera, but they will not run in this environment because they don't have the proper pathways for user profiles. So you're going to be stuck using Firefox and Midori. There might be some other ones that work, but these are the ones that worked that I've tried. Let's see. This is a little bit, let's change this a little bit. Oh, I see. It automatically downgraded our video. Let's see. I can force a better video quality, but that's not really what we installed it for. We installed it because we could, use this in different countries rather than having a good user experience. We want to actually have access. So that's why we did this. And you can see the picture. You can force it to get better, but it runs extremely slowly because I'm using a Sydney, Australia server. So let me go back to make it automated or automatic throughput. And let me just give you an example of where the server is. Let's see. And this should show the IP address area, and you could look that up if you wanted to, and you can see that's a Sydney, Australia IP address. And you can, again, connect to any or from any country using this method of tunneling. Of course, like I said, you could use VPNs too. You can pay for a VPN, or you could pay like $5 a month or even less, because you could just turn this on and off as you need it. Not to say that if you turn off the server in DigitalOcean, they'll continue to charge you. So basically, you'd want to delete it, reinstall it as you need it, delete it. But if you like this method and you want to keep this thing going, just keep it running the entire time. And you can tunnel in when you're ready and use the VNC connection to actually access the desktop.